You are representing everybody that is you. I represent being able to find the light at the end of the tunnel.
You gotta really be in it and really enjoy it and really want it.
And I feel like if you come into it like that day one, man, you unstoppable.
That shows people it's possible, my people, that it's possible.
And that is so necessary in a world of misinformation. This is a legacy effort.
Literature is the DNA of a culture. When you want to know what happened during an era, you look to the word, whether that word is a book or a song.
I promise you, we as a people will get there.
Or a film or a poem. You look to the word. I mean, we still look into the word of books that are millennial old, that are thousands and thousands of years old. And so it's like, it's a time capsule.
Well, hello there, scholars. Welcome to Banking on Your Book, how you can monetize your knowledge. So most people think, the book is all about the sales, how much money can I make on a sale? But really, it's how you can monetize your knowledge with your book. So I'm Kathy Michelle Hamilton. Entrepreneurship started in 2016 when I decided to write a book about the steps that I took with my sister. We co founded our first business, a kids' cooking school in Los Angeles. Yes, way back in 2008. And that was our first business, and we loved it, and we did it for a few years, but then we felt it was time to, move on and go back into our careers and, just do something different. So after went back and got back into the groove of our regular jobs, I decided, let me just kind of document everything that we went through, all the highs, the lows, the pros, the cons, and it was a lot. Okay, we had started off as a home-based business, and then we were a mobile business, and then we ended up with a brick and mortar business. So cooking school for kids, it had a lot of components, and it's something that I felt like most people had no clue of how to run a business like that. So I started journaling and just writing things down, and before I knew it, I had a step by step, guide of everything that we did, the shortcuts, the things not to do, things to look for, all that stuff. I had it all condensed in a nice little, little package. It wasn't like, 1,000 pages or anything, but it was a nice, amount of pages. And I was like, huh, I wonder, would someone buy this if I published it? Okay. So, you just never know. I always thought one day I would be an author, but I just, didn't know what I was going to write about or, when it was going to happen. But I always had this kind of in the back of my head aspiration to be an author. So finally, I put it all together and formatted and all those things you got to do with it. And then I thought about, okay, do I want to hand this over to a traditional publisher and go through that process? I've heard horror stories of how long it takes, to get published through a traditional publisher, and they can change things and, all these different ways. I went to a workshop with the lady who was an author, and she talked about, the pros and cons of both traditional and self-published. And once I finished her workshop, I was like, I think I'm going to try my hand at self-publishing. I just came off of running a full brick and mortar business. I'm like, it can't be that hard. If I can run a brick and mortar business with my sister and had absolutely no experience doing that prior to it, I think I can handle self-publishing, my own book. So, ultimately I chose to self-publish my first book on Amazon, making money, teaching, kids how to cook in a cooking class. So I did that. And, within a few weeks, I checked to see what my sales were. And I had, had a sale, had a couple of sales. And surprisingly, when I looked, at the data, it was someone who bought my book in China. And I don't know what it was about seeing, like, huh, someone actually purchased and was interested in my book in a whole nother world. Like, it just didn't register, like, oh, there's people outside of California. At the time I was living in Los Angeles, California, and I don't know, I just couldn't see past California. But if you think about it, Amazon is the biggest platform out there for pretty much selling anything. So it just kind of clicked, like, wow, I might be on to something. What if I sold more books? What if I created and put them up on Amazon and sold more books? Wouldn't that kind of give me more money? Hey, and it was like, huh, I think I will. I actually was like, I'm going to make a goal. I'm huge on making goals and vision boards and things like that. And I was like, I'm going to make a new book and put it up on Amazon every year, at least one book every year. And to this date, okay, this is 2026, I have 13 books on Amazon. So I I did what I said. Once I kind of put my mind to something, I do it. And so I actually did a little bit more because from 2016 to 2026, yeah, that's a little bit more than one book a year. So I'm like, okay, I stuck to my goal and I did that. But it gave me this fire because the creativity side of it, I loved it so much. And I felt like I can use this knowledge that I have in my brain. Okay, we all have that brain that keeps going, the creativity, you have thoughts of doing this, doing that. I'm going to use this knowledge that I have and monetize it. And I'm just going to keep doing it and keep doing it and see what happens. So for me, it's not just about writing. I do like to write. It's not about just about expressing creativity. I love expressing my creativity, but it's in conjunction with the business side of me. It's like, this is a business move as well. Now, I don't know if it's just because I started as an entrepreneur and became an author, but either way, I see it as I can get everything out of my head creatively, like being creative and writing, and also make some smart business moves as well. Okay. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about. Okay. Banking on your book. So you have to think, this is the mindset shift it takes. Okay. It might take you a minute because it's hard to go from employee to thinking about, entrepreneurship where, you're in charge. But same thing with being an author. Yes, being an author, you're in charge, but you got to think a little bit broader. Okay. Think bigger. Okay. Think bigger than your book. Think outside the book. Publishing a book, great. Okay. Or if you're an aspiring author, great. If you're a veteran author, great. But what are you going to do with that book, outside of just selling your book? Okay. You can do so much more with your book than you think. Okay. So I'm here to give you just a few tips, something to think about, something to make go, about what you can do to make your book bankable. All right. So think of your book as a door, a window, okay, turning a page, okay, to other opportunities that will bring, extra income. Everybody like a little extra income, right? Okay. So even though I am predominantly a nonfiction writer, I do have one children's book, which has a little fiction in it, but it is based on my daughter's early life. But it's for any genre. So don't think you got to be, oh, you got to be a children's writer or, you got to be an adult, novel or what. No, it's for whatever you write. Okay. Whatever genre you're in, all of these tips are good for all of it. Okay. So when you have your book, you're obviously creating some credibility. Okay. Because if you think about it, if you were to survey all your friends, family, career friends, work friends, college friends, high school friends, all the people on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if you were to survey them to find out, who out there is a published author, you probably find that it's very little, if not any. Okay. So that makes you a little bit higher up. Not saying you're going to get a big head. Okay. But it gives you that little oomph of credibility when you actually follow through with what you want to do with your book. By publishing it, by sharing it, by selling it, people look at you just a little bit different because they see, like, oh, he or she follows through with what they said they were going to do. She's not just, saying I'm going to write this book. She actually followed through. Okay. She's actually selling it on a huge platform like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the platforms. So people give you a little bit more credibility. Okay. It also might lead to lead generation for future customers. So especially if you're doing a series of books or you're doing, another edition or just, writing your second book about whatever it is you want to write about, you know, that opens the door for other customers because sometimes if they get to know you on one book and then you write another book, they're like, okay, I want to get that one too. Let me see what that one's about. Okay. So it opens the door for more customers. So don't stop at one book. Okay. Multiple books. It also opens the pathway to entrepreneurship opportunities, like I talked about. Okay. I'm going to share some of those entrepreneurship opportunities. Like I said, I like to call it authorpreneurship because if you're selling anything, any kind of product or service, you're an entrepreneur. So if you're an author and you have sold one book, you are now an entrepreneur. Okay, whether you like it or not, you're an entrepreneur. So that means you need to think a little bit more like an entrepreneur if you want to make more sales with your books or create different opportunities to use your book, your knowledge, and monetize it. Okay. So I'm going to give you some cool, ideas, that you might be able to run with and create these other ways to monetize your book. Okay. So, what does it look like? It looks like speaking engagements. Ta da! Here I am doing a speaking engagement. I've done several speaking engagements based on books that I have published. Okay. So, it gives you that opportunity to have a seat at the table. As they say, you got to get in the building first. Okay. Get in the building and then you work your way up to the seat at the table. So if a speaking engagement does that, then you might need to get over the fear of speaking, okay? Like just like I did, just like a lot of people do, to give yourself that breathing room so you can have different conversations with people so that you can make those deals, okay? So you can, use your book as leverage to create something else, okay? It might it might look like a podcast, whether it's your own podcast that you create, or it could be um, you could go to, not saying it has to be some, professional influencer. There's lots of people who have podcasts that are not, the the high profile ones that we see on social media. I've done, I think, 3 or 4 podcasts on other people's podcasts, and they were just regular folk who just happened to have a podcast. Okay. But it gives you a little bit more, credibility, visibility to discuss your book. Okay. Maybe get some sales from that, maybe get some speaking engagements from that. Right. And a lot of times the podcast may not be, video. So if you're still kind of iffy about, speaking in front of people kind of thing, some of the podcasts, they're not video. Okay. Most of, I would say a lot of them are not video. I've done both. I've done video and without video. So just something to think about. Something else you might think about doing to, you know, get some banking on your book is workshops, classes, courses. Again, if you're talking about your book, that's what you're teaching. You might be teaching writing classes. You might be teaching poetry classes. If your topic is, I don't know, fishing or whatever, maybe you're doing a hands-on workshop on the tricks and trades of fishing, and you promote your book with that. Like, okay, and I have a lot more information about fishing in my book, you know? So you have to think a little bit more like, what else? They call it the upsell. What else can I give someone that accompanies the book? Okay. something else that I can profit off of, monetize, okay? Make an additional stream of income, right? The best places to start, just my example, your community, okay? Your It could be your churches that might offer, workshops on financial planning, or whatever whatever your church normally does. Maybe they have a bazaar and you're the speaker at the bazaar, what have you. Community centers, every city has a community center where it's like people go there for dance classes, they go there for writing classes, they go there for ceramics and arts and things like that. There's senior citizen classes, there uh, teen night classes. All of those places, it's all about put it in the application, submit it. If they accept it, then there you go. And most of the time, you set your own price. Yes, they take a percentage, but if you set your own price, then you set it to where you make the money that you want to make, you know, for that class. Right now, I offer 3 classes at my local community center. Okay, something for the teens, and 2 of them are for the adults. All of those stemmed from my books that I have written, okay, on teen entrepreneurship and business and things like that, how to do books on Amazon, stuff like that. I turned all that into an additional stream of income, monetizing my knowledge, okay, while still promoting my books, okay. It all started from me publishing my books, okay, just as simple as that. Libraries, a lot of times libraries are looking for someone. Let's say if you have children's books, they're looking for someone to come read to the children. So you're coming to read, your book, and they're like, "Ooh, I think the library should carry that book in here because the kids love it. They want to check it out." Boom, there you go. You just sold a couple of copies of a book to your libraries because you just went to go read to kids. Okay, colleges, local community colleges. I'm about to teach a class to the incoming freshmen at my local community college because I went to a vendor event on that campus to sell my books and get information, pass out information and things like that. But really, my goal for doing that vendor event on a college campus was to make a connection with people who work at the college. That was my goal. It wasn't completely about selling my books. Sure, it would be great to, sell my books, but really, I wanted to meet some people. I wanted to talk to the students on the campus to see if they had an aspiration to be an author, anything like that. And sure enough, that vendor event was on a Wednesday. I got an email by Friday asking if I was interested in teaching the incoming freshmen over the summer about being an author. So I didn't sell any books at that vendor event, but I'm about to make hundreds of dollars teaching this summer at a community class. So if you're not stuck in, oh, I got to sell the books, got to sell, I got 10 books I need to sell. If you get out of that stuck book box and think beyond, there's other ways to monetize your knowledge. Okay. There's also online platforms. Okay. Your knowledge can be put into, you know, uh, PDFs, uploaded, add a little video just like I'm doing now, and sell it. Okay. About your book, about your genre, about the process, about writing, whatever it is. And then you can sell that online and it's on repeat. You don't have to do anything else. Okay. So the book is already done. You don't have to rewrite it. You might just put 1 or 2 chapters and sell that as a class on whatever platform. I use Teachable. I sell online classes on Teachable. There's Udemy. There's literally hundreds of different platforms. But again, it started from a book, and then I broke that book down into different worksheets and workbooks and made it a course and put it online that I don't have to do anything to it other than advertise. Okay. Coaching and consulting. You could do that one on one. You could do that with a small group. Okay. You could do it in person. You can do it online on Zoom or whatever platform you choose to use. Someone is inevitable. It's inevitable that when I go somewhere and someone hears I'm an author, they're like, "Ooh, I want to talk to you about my book. I want to talk to you about what you did to, publish it on Amazon." That's coaching. That's consulting. Put your price on there, meet once a week or however you want to do it, and boom, you're using your knowledge and you're learning how to monetize it. Okay. Start banking on your book. Another way is workbooks, planners, journals. Okay. Those can be companions to your original book. Let's say you just have one book, create a journal with it. Okay. Break down the chapters and use your question, reflective questions or what have you about your book, and now you got a companion workbook, now you got a companion journal, now you got a companion planner. Okay, so I would say I have about 4 or 5 different planners. A couple of them go with my original book. Right, just another way to build your knowledge, build your ways to monetize. Okay. So don't get stuck with, oh, I have a book. I just need to sell this book. Yes, if you're brand new to this, if this is too much for you and you just like, I'm a brand new author, I don't know what to do, but so start there. But then I want you to think down the road, make plans, make goals, think outside the book, and use some of these tips, strategies, ways to build, okay, your income in multiple ways with just your book. All right, you're going to branch out. All right. So, just to go over, this book to business kind of system, okay, you have your book, you make money from that, great. It gives you credibility. The credibility leads to speaking engagements, workshops, coaching, teaching classes, okay, online classes, creating, workbooks, planners, journals. All that leads to visibility, okay? And then the cycle just keeps going, okay? Write another book, okay? Now you got multiple ways to build your income from your book. And if you got multiple books, now you got boom, 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 all these systems in place. Book to business system to build, your repertoire, okay, of, banking on your book. All right. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you for joining me. And your book is already very valuable, right? Now it's time to make it bankable. So if you'd like to connect with me about any of my books or services that I offer, follow me on Instagram. I'm at Kathe Michelle. That's KATHEMICHELE. Or you can go to my website, kathemichelle.com. And I hope to hear from you. Thank you.
If you're looking for a secure haven within the literary world, you found the perfect organization. Let's make magic together. Our space is specifically designed for African American authors who are passionate about their writings of films and books. It's a platform to stay informed about industry developments. And on Patreon, we'll share exclusive content, valuable resources, and engaging discussions and masterclasses on various subjects, ranging from film and publishing industry trends to wellness and business tips. So if you're ready to dive into this exciting community, become a member now. Welcome to our literary haven where creativity knows no bounds. Let's make magic together.